All right, there we go. Hi, everyone. And thanks, Eric, for the intro. I'm Christiaan Brand. As I said earlier, I am part of the team at Google responsible for authentication. And the objective of the next 30 minutes will be to share a quick update on Google's identity and security services. So enterprise adoption of the cloud has been accelerating lately. And we think this is a good thing, right? So as cloud has become the best way to capitalize on the increasing security and innovation in that paradigm, right? More and more services are moving to the cloud, and the question is quickly becoming one of, can you afford not to migrate your security and your identity systems into the cloud? So Google has built one of the largest and most secure infrastructures in the world to run and protect our own business. So Google's capability to innovate is also present in our security teams, and we think this is absolute key to stay ahead of the curve. So if we consider just the technology advantage that Google has in security, I normally think of three things there, right? So we were able to start from a blank slate, we were able to keep homogeneity, and we apply advanced computing capabilities, things such as machine learning, to solve big problems like spam. And the idea of today's presentation is to tell you how we can make all of that available to you. So one of the biggest issues in security today is the technology supply chain. So we think Google has an edge because of our control over the entire stack. So if we look at the diagram there on the presentation, right? So if we think about this from the hardware perspective, we have control over the hardware in the data center. We control the operating system running on these machines. We control the networking. We control the networking infrastructure, right? In some cases, we even have fiber that's our own that we've laid over which the bits and the bytes are traversing, right? From an application perspective, we audit binaries. We're in complete control of the kernel-based virtual machines. It's ours running on these stacks. And on the last diagram there on the mobile UI side, we have things such as Android Safety Net that can attest to the integrity and the security of applications and the system running on the mobile OS side. So let's take a quick look at some of Google's innovation here over the last couple of years on the authentication side. So we started off with risk-based authentication, and then in February 2012, we introduced two-step verification. So two-step verification was a one-time password-based solution that was delivered over either SMS, or you would download an application to your smartphone, and you would then use that to prove your second factor to the Google servers. A little bit more on two-step verification in a moment. So at the end of 2014, we introduced something else called Security Key with specific support on desktop. And Security Key was invented to address specific issues that we discovered with using one-time passwords for multi-factor authentication. And then towards the end of 2015, we reached a significant milestone. Through the deployment of security keys, Google's employees became truly unphishable. And that's what we're going to focus on throughout the rest of the presentation today. So, quick show of hands. Anyone know what that number on the left is? There we go. Yes. Eric told me everyone's going to know. I shouldn't even show the slide, but I still wanted to do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, obviously the most popular password in 2015. And then the thing on the right, yeah, of course, the second most popular, right? Big problem. So if we look at the statistics here, right, it is then no wonder that 76% of account vulnerabilities in 2015 were due to weak or stolen passwords. So weak passwords we saw on the previous slide. What about stolen passwords? How does that happen, right? We all know it's through phishing. If we look at the statistics there on the left, Google has published a report. If you haven't seen it already, please go and take a look. We claim that about half of the users being confronted with a well-crafted phishing email will end up clicking on that link and revealing their username and their password. It is then also no surprise that Verizon report in 2015 mentioned that over 2/3 of any security incidents in 2015 was related to phishing of account credentials. So passwords are broken, right? I think the challenge here is that through a combination of users reusing passwords, advanced phishing scams, and password interceptions, users protecting their accounts with only a username and a password are at risk. So Right, what are we doing? Multi-factor authentication was introduced to try and solve this problem. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, or two-step verification, 2SV, where a user needs to prove their identity to the system on the other side, not only by using a single factor, such as a username and a password, but also using an additional factor, normally something in the old paradigm, something I have, such as a mobile phone or a key fob. These technologies aren't really working that well. If we look at what they do address, specifically the ones that's based on one-time passwords, these are addressing to a certain extent the password reuse problem, but they're not really effective against sophisticated phishing attacks. Because just as with a username and a password, if you log into a website, you think it's the correct website, you give away your username and password, you're just going to give away your one-time password as well, and at that point the fraudster has access to your account. And that's not even to mention all of the usability challenges with one-time passwords. So security keys was specifically designed to address the problem with one-time password-based 2SV solutions, and it has been standardized in this organization called the FIDO Alliance under the technical standard Universal Second Factor. These devices are designed in such a way that they are inherently safe against phishing attacks. Even if an attacker sets up a website, gets you to give away your username and password, and even get you as far as clicking the button on your U2F token that'll generate the cryptographic signature, even at that point in time, the resultant signature would not be able to be used to sign that attacker into your account. And I'm happy to talk a little bit later and at the booth about why that is and how the protocol in the underlying framework works, but that's the key for a takeaway, I think, from the U2F perspective. So, if we have all of that right, what's still left to do? Well, we focused specifically in the past on the desktop use case. Linux, Windows, Mac OS X, that's where we have full support. But users are increasingly mobile. So how can we help administrators also scale this technology out, right? We know we need to go mobile. We know we need to help administrators in some way actually scale the technology out. If we want to deploy this in our own organizations, how do you actually scale this beyond just one single user? Just myself today, adding a security key to my account is pretty trivial. I can go to Google right now and do it. But how do I, as a domain administrator, actually scale that out for all my users? And then lastly, if the user has the option to avoid the challenge of a security key and they can still fall back to another traditional factor, they're still vulnerable, right? So we need to address that in some way as well. So if we look at that slide from earlier again, and this time the question mark has been filled in, that's exactly what we've been doing. So I'm making security keys available on mobile, and that means both Android and iOS, because our users are on both, and giving administrators the capability to manage and enforce security keys. We can extend the phishing protection of Google to your enterprise too. So today, we're pre-announcing Enterprise Security Key, which will allow Google Apps administrators to do 4 things. Firstly, enforce the use of security keys across your domain or across specific organizational units inside your domain. Enroll security keys on behalf of your users or allow your users to self-enroll. Manage lost or stolen security keys and manage the workflow that goes together with that, account recovery, for example. And then lastly, report on security key statistics inside your organization. So the FIDO Alliance has recently launched and certified its first Bluetooth low energy U2F specification, and these will be available in time for our launch. And the idea is that these tokens all communicate over Bluetooth low energy, which then makes it possible for us to not only support devices that has NFC support, as in the past, such as Android, but also iOS Apple devices. So at Google, we've been using security keys as the basis for all authentication for a while now, and we've had to manage the deployment of these at scale. And if you're interested in Google-specific deployment, I encourage you to look at the slides that we presented on Monday in the FIDO track, where we spoke a little bit about Google's success with deploying these security keys at scale. And because we had to manage these deployments of these security keys at scale, we've learned a couple of things. And as part of this feature, we're providing administrators with the tools to allow either the administrator to manage enrollment on behalf of their users, kind of the old smart card use case, or allow your users to self-enroll within specific guidelines, of course, and then enroll lastly without the need for a two-step verification phone number. Something that if you're a Google customer, you'll know today, that's still a requirement. If you want to enable 2SV right now, you still have to give away a mobile phone number. The idea here is to get rid of that requirement once you move into the enterprise security key world with security key enforcement. So at this point in time, let's take a quick look at a demo. So this is always where things get a little bit more interesting. Let me see if I can get that going. So the first demo that I want to do is I want to show you how this works on iOS. So let's see if I can get rid of the presentation for a moment here. Okay. I think my laptop. Okay, so this really isn't my demo. This is my laptop that decided that it's going to go to sleep, I think. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. No, it's actually, there is like nothing on the screen of my laptop at all. There we go. Okay, it's back. Let's keep it like that for a moment and press the escape button very carefully. There we go. Okay, that's good. At this point in time, let's see if this will work. There we go. Okay, so I'm not going to tempt fate any longer and try to minimize. Just look at the iPhone there over and above. So essentially what you're seeing on the screen there is just my iPhone. And at this point in time, I am going to try and bootstrap my Google account on my iOS device using one of these brand new Bluetooth Low Energy FIDO security keys. So the first thing I have to do is I have to open up an application here that'll help me with the bootstrapping process. And actually, let's just go in and we say add account. And this will take us to the traditional screen there. We would be able to give away our username, give away our password, and I'm not worried that everyone's going to see my password because without my Bluetooth security key, you won't be able to get access to my account. So this is an account where security key has been enforced. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to enter my username. And I'm going to click next. And I'm going to enter my password. There we go. And at that point in time, I am going to be prompted. And it's going to say, well, I don't see any security keys nearby, so please get one so that we can actually authenticate you. So at this point in time, I'm going to activate my Bluetooth security key. Because I've never paired with a security key on this device before, I'm going to have to go through a pairing process where I'm going to have to enter a PIN code. So let's see if this will work. I need to pick my favorite security key from the list. At this point in time, it's going to ask me for my PIN code, which I will promptly enter, 479, to make sure that I'm not pairing to the wrong device. At this point in time, the process will complete. And once it's all done and I go back to manage, you will see that my account has been added. And this account has now been added across the mobile operating system for any Google application on this specific device, as well as from the Safari side for any Google services directly in the web. Yes, Eric? Sure, good question. So if you look at these devices that we have here, I have one from one single manufacturer called Phishing. On the back of the device, we have two items that's printed, and this is recommendation from Google to these vendors in FIDO that's making these tokens, and we recommended to them to have two identifiers on the back of the token. The one identifier identifies this device, so it disambiguates this device across different other devices in the room. So you would have seen there when I actually tried to add this device, there was two more. It wasn't my devices, but they were showing up on my phone. So to disambiguate, we have one specific identifier at the bottom. And once I click on the device that I want to pair with, the PIN code that's printed just above the identifier is then required to complete the traditional Bluetooth link, right? So it's just as when you pair it to your headphones or try to pair it to your car, there's normally a PIN code process required so that someone else doesn't pair to my Bluetooth device that's in the vicinity. Yes? Right, so that's a good question, and that is possible on the consumer side, of course. because on the consumer side, right, my account today might not be protected with 2SV, but that's not just a problem with security keys, that's a problem with 2SV in general, right? My account cannot be protected with 2SV today. You quickly log in, you add your own phone number to my account, and at that point in time, right, you now control my account. Obviously, that's a challenge for us. The way that we're thinking about that today, and why we're calling it enterprise security key, is because we're offering this specifically on the enterprise side, where a domain administrator will set the specific controls. So for example, a domain administrator can pre-enroll security keys for all of their employees. That account will not ever be able to be logged in without presenting a second factor right from the get-go. So that's one process that one could do. Obviously, the other problem can still happen where an attacker goes in if the user is in self-enrollment mode. At that point in time, the attacker might associate their security key to the account for some reason, but you can always go back to the admin to go and fix that in the enterprise case. Consumer space is a little bit more tricky, but it's definitely something we're thinking about. Okay. Cool, so while we're on that, maybe, since my demo worked so fine, maybe I will also show a quick demo on the Android side. So just to show, it'll work there too. So bear with me a quick second. Hopefully my laptop won't disappear again as it did previously. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and connect my Android device. So that is what you should be seeing. Cool. So just to kind of, change things up a little bit, on the iPhone side, I used a very specific application to bootstrap my Google account onto that device, used my security key to complete the bootstrapping process. On the on the Android side, I'm going to try to sign in to a Google account that I've never used on this phone before. So at that point in time, I will be challenged for a security key as well. We can also, on the Android side, go through the traditional add account route, which is what we think our users will mostly be doing. If you want to see a demo of that, please come by the booth. We'll be happy to show you that process as well. So on this one, let's see if I try to access Google Drive. That's what I'm going to try to do. At this point in time, first screen I see, of course, is a Google sign-in screen. I'm going to enter my credentials here again. And at the point in time when I've done that, and I've clicked sign in, what we should see is a pop-up appearing saying, I need to put my security key in pairing mode, because this phone knows it's never communicated to a security key before, so that's what I'm going to be doing. On this specific device, I need to keep the button pressed for about 5 seconds, so that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Once I've done this, the security key should show up here, and again, there's a couple of others. I don't know who has security keys in the audience already, but I'm going to click mine. I'm going to enter my PIN code, 760 and 479. And at this point in time, these two should communicate. It should generate that signature that I spoke about earlier that makes sure I'm not on a phishing website, but on the real website. And if all this succeeds and happens successfully, I will be signed into my account. And I think I got a second challenge, and that's why I'm seeing that. So let's just try and turn it on and see what will happen. So at this point in time, let's quickly try that again. I think I am actually signed in the background here. I'll show that to you guys in a moment here, but let's just make sure. So let's pick my security key again, and actually it'll go back to the previous screen. And leaving incognito mode. Oh, that's what I should have done. I shouldn't have left incognito mode. There we go. I'm signed into Drive. So even on the Android side, works successfully. This was an in-app, in-browser, but also adding your account to Android works perfectly as well. So I'll show that to you guys at the booth. So that is the demo. Let's get back to the rest of the presentation and how you can make this possible in your own domain. So let's see if we can move this out of the way. Not that interested in the... See, that's what I keep doing. And I should be good. Oh, okay. Password screen. So let's go there. And let's start up the presentation again. Okay. Cool. So I will be back in 10 seconds. Just make sure I can see my own slides too. Cool, so we just took a look at the demo, and I think that worked pretty successfully, and I have that back, and I'm going to click the full screen again, and we should be good to go. Cool, there we are. So, thanks for bearing with me. So, question, how can I apply this security to my own organization? So Google's identity and security solutions live side by side, and even although our identity platform is tightly integrated with Google products, it can also be used in a legacy environment where you perhaps have not yet made the shift over to Google Apps. So here is a basic Google Identity use case, right? We see federation using SAML2, OAuth, or OpenID Connect, and obviously you use Google Identity to federate into your applications. But we know in many cases this is actually a bit of an oversimplification. So some of our customers have advanced requirements where they need support for other applications and other federation and authentication protocols, many times such as Kerberos in the Windows environment or Web Services Federation Protocol. And this is an area that Google does not natively support today. However, we do have a solution for this. So last year, we announced a program called Recommended for Google for Work. And in this program, we've partnered with partners such as Ping and Okta to address these advanced use cases. And in this diagram, we can see that Ping and Okta are bridging the authentication to Google with these other services that only support some of these native protocols like Kerberos or WSFed. This is the recommended approach if you have complex identity needs. So you might even have the source of truth for your identities in one of these additional or other products, but we'd still like you to think of Google as your enterprise security provider, even in this case. So, sorry, John, there we go. You can take a picture. There we go. All right, no problem. We'll share it. Okay, it's a pretty slide. So even if you're not using any of these applications on the left, you can still leverage Google's enterprise security features across all of your applications. Let's go back there. Nope, nope. There we go. That's the one. So pricing and availability, right? So Enterprise Security Key will be made available as part of Google's unlimited $10 per user per month plan that offers many additional advanced security features, such as auditing and reporting, device management, and advanced administrative controls. Google's applications, such as Gmail, Drive, Docs, are also included in this plan, but you can use many of the security features that I discussed today without them. So Enterprise Security Key will launch in the fall, but at this point in time, we are signing up early access partners this week at CIS. Please stop by our booth if you're interested in signing up or learning more, or go to the website, the Internet Identity Research site that Eric spoke about. I will make sure that there's a link on there that you can click where you can go in and register your interest for this program as well. Cool. Thank you very much.